How dare you? How dare you betray me? No, Dimakatsu, you knew very well that I loved you. And you know very well that I... Good day, Sanbonani Dumelang. Hello, family. Welcome to another YouTube video with me, your host, Mathics Mahlangu. Don't worry about what just happened. I was showing you one of my passions because in today's video, guys, we are going to be decoding the movie Soul. And I had to show you that part to show you what it is that I want to talk about in this particular video. Because I'm beginning a whole new series where I'm going to be decoding movies. So the first movie I'm going to be starting with is called Soul. It's an animation movie. So before you continue on watching this particular episode of my channel, I want you to go watch the movie and afterwards come back and watch this video. So the movie is called Soul. It features Jamie Foxx within that movie. I'll get into the directors and who directed the movie and the writers, but that would take too much time. I want to just get into the juice of the movie and give you the full analysis, from my perspective on what the movie is about. So now, don't forget to like and to subscribe to the channel. Share it with your friends, because I want to make you guys aware that I'm taking you on a journey. And thank you to all the people who have subscribed to my channel, because in 4 to 7 years from now, I get to interact a lot with people who comment and who send questions and who thank me for sending out these particular videos and being a reminder to them. It's going to be crazy because in a few years it's going to be a whole lot of more people. Right now I have like 300 something followers. It's going to get into the thousands. That's just YouTube, because there's visions of my higher self. My higher self has showed me of where I'm going into this life. And this movie called Soul is the perfect movie to start with and to decode. As I said, that I'm going to be doing a series of movies that get to decode. So I'm going to take a movie that you see and you think, oh no, movie, and then I'm going to break it down for you to show you the deeper side of what these movies are actually talking about, because most of the writers and the directors in these particular movies are well-learned people. They have studied ancient African spirituality. They have studied Gnosticism, ancient spiritual texts, the Kabbalah. They have studied, as I said, Gnosticism, religion, the journey of the soul into the earth, the hero's journey. So most of these movies are based on that concept of the hero's journey, where the soul starts off and then it descends into the lower planes and then it ascends back into the higher planes. And that's why I wanted to start with this particular decoding series by opening up with Soul. I'm going to do The Matrix. I'm going to do Ready Player One. I'm going to do what is this movie called? Zootopia. I'm going to do a whole lot of movies. Doctor Strange. I'm going to do a whole lot of movies, but we're going to kick-start it off with the movie Soul. So now, without wasting any time, I wrote some notes, because I write notes. It's good to write notes when you watch movies, because then you are not watching, but you are learning. I learned this from one of my teachers, Dr. Phil Valentine. Like, whenever you go to movies, go there with a notebook, because then you are not being indoctrinated, but rather you are decoding the movies. So I recently watched the movie Soul, and I was talking about it with my queen way before I watched it, and we're gonna do a space about it on Twitter. So I also just decided to do a YouTube video as it being the first one. So now when we look at the movie Soul, getting straight into it, the movie starts off, so we are introduced to this character called Joe. So now Joe is he's a regular Joe. You know, like he's just a regular Joe. That's what he is. He's a regular. Actually, oh, I'm using my phone. He's a regular Joe. He's just a normal gent. Just like Neo in the Matrix, who was called what, Mr. Anderson, who was a computer analyst or computer geek. So he's just a regular Joe. But the word Joe, I want to give you this task because I researched and I tapped into the other names of what the characters mean, but I want you to go look up what the word Joe means. Go look up the etymology, which is the study or the origin of where words come from. So go look up the etymology of the word Joe and see where it leads you. So now, getting into the movie. So the movie starts off, we start off with the character called Joe. He's just an average Joe, as I said. So now he gets a job offer. So he's a he's a teacher at a school. So one of the people there, I think it was a teacher or the principal, they come to Joe. They're like, hey, we're gonna give you a permanent job here. And he's like, he's not really that excited about it because deep down he feels that he has like a deeper calling to something, which what he thinks is music, but we're gonna get into that, or playing music, the piano to be specific. So then Joe, in one of the following scenes, he's with his mom, which is a challenge that we get to face. This is now representing what we call the parent archetype, where your parents will tell you that do this, go get a regular job. That's what Joe's mom was representing there. That particular archetype. How they know, blend in, fit into society. Don't chase your dreams. Not really saying don't chase your dreams, but your parents will tell you that as incarnations until you get to such a point where you're like, nope, I'm going to chase my dream. And we're going to talk about that towards the end of the video. So now Joe encounters the parent archetype and the mother's like, oh, finally, now you get insurance, you get life support, you get a good paying 9-to-5 job, but he still feels like, nah, man, this ain't it for me. So now the movie continues on, and then Joe gets a call from one of the students that he used to teach, right? And then he says to the guy, he's like, yo, man, I would be so happy, and like I would die if I get to perform with Dorothy Williams, which is the lady who Joe gets to perform with. And I'm going to tell you the names of the main characters that I think that you should focus on and what the names mean. So now the guy calls him and he says, hey man, like you kid, like Dorothy Williams, I'm working with her, can you come through? And he's tripping. He's like, bro, I'd even die to perform with that hun. And that was actually funny because now he went to an audition, right? After that, he went to an audition, and like Dorothy was like, oh my God, nigga, where have you been? And then he's so excited after she tells him, oh, we're gonna come through tonight. We're gonna perform. So he's walking ignorantly. He's walking, if you watch the movie, he's walking, there's bananas and there's like people in construction there. And that's all symbolic. He is unaware of the dangers of what he's going into. That was what that scene was symbolic of. The dangers that the soul goes into once it thinks that a particular thing is its purpose. And that's another thing we're going to get into later on within the conversation. So now he's excited. Long story short, he falls into this pit and then he appears in a different dimension. And this dimension is called the Great Beyond. And it was a sudden death. There he meets an old lady. He's like, where am I? I'm not supposed to be here. The lady's like, oh man, it must have been so sudden for you. I'm 100 and something years old. I know I've been ready for this. But Joe had a sudden death. And this leads me to what we call now reincarnation. When you die unexpectedly, or you just die so quick, your soul still gravitates back to this earth like Joe. You still want to come back here because you feel that you still need to play with this lady. You still feel that you need to go meet and have dinner with that particular person, or there's something that you still need to achieve. Just like Joe, he's like, bro, I gotta play with Dorothy tonight. So his soul is still attached to the earth. So he's still attached to the earth. So this movie also teaches us about reincarnation, why souls come back here. Although it shows Joe, he's just the one. There's many other Joes, souls that die, and there's things that they feel that they haven't accomplished. So they are attached to the physical realm. All right. So now he falls into this pit. He falls into this pit. He's unprepared. He's attached to the earth, reincarnation. Okay, so let me see what I wrote here next. He falls to the dimension. Oh, and then after that, he tries to go back, and then he falls into a plane where younger souls are now incarnating, called the Great Before. And now in this particular dimension, this is where it gets interesting. He basically meets a soul, or a spirit, or a guide rather. He meets a guardian called Jerry. And when he meets this guardian called Jerry introduces himself. He's like, Joey's like, who are you? And then Jerry's like, I am, this part is important. I am the coming together of all quanti fields of the universe, appearing in a form that your feeble human mind can comprehend. What? This is what Jerry says. So Jerry says that I am basically a unified field of different forces of the universe that has manifested or is appearing to you in this form that your brain can comprehend. Because if it were to appear in its entire form, your brain wouldn't comprehend it, because it's that much. And that's what also you are. Because one thing I will tell you is that Jerry, the lady, the kids, everyone I'm going to talk about are all happening inside of you. You are all these characters, just like you are all the characters in the Bible, in the Quran, in the Bhagavad Gita, in every holy book, or in anything that you can read. It's all about you and the different aspects of your mind, which leads me to the next part. So now Jerry continues on to say to Joe, he's like, so now they're going on this ride, and Jerry, which is this infinite being that's manifesting itself in these particular, in that particular form, says that, so I'm this being manifesting itself like this to you. So now they go on this ride, this young ride. And then Joe sees how beings come to earth before. And basically now, Jerry's task is to assign souls into specific archetypes, which is where they also spoke about Carl Jung, which is funny. Google Carl Jung and check out what he spoke about archetypes, because that goes back to what I spoke about in my African spirituality video, where I spoke about the fact that Africans already knew this and they laid it out in astrology. Because in the movie Soul, when they were picking what type of personality that each individual soul would have, that's the zodiac signs. Okay, Libra, y'all are indecisive, but at the same time, y'all are the judges, y'all are the scales, y'all are the peacemakers. Oh, Aries, y'all are hard-headed, goddamn, but at the same time, y'all are the leaders, different types of archetypes. That's what they were displaying in this movie, in this particular scene where Joe was seeing where souls get their identity before birth from. Okay, so now let's move on here. Let me see here. I also wrote here, there are jobs in the astral realm, which are not necessarily jobs, but like how I said, they are forces. And these forces are what choose. Because you remember what Jerry said? He said that I am the coming together of the quanti fields of the universe appearing in a form that you can understand. So these particular forces are what dictate or what choose what a soul is going to be born into. So these are the forces in you. You are Jerry. And the forces inside of you choose, okay, in this lifetime, I want you to be selfish. In this lifetime, I want you to be a kind person. In this lifetime, I want you to be greedy. In this lifetime, I want you to be very helpful. So it's the unquantifiable forces of the cosmos that dictate what it is that you experience in your past life, also viewing the potential of your future life that chooses, in this lifetime, you're going to be a Libra, an Aquarius, a Virgo, a Gemini, a Pisces, a Capricorn. It's that force, that intelligence that is represented in this movie as who? As Jerry. Remember I said I'm going to tell you what the names mean. So now let's go on. I wrote here, there are jobs in the astral, like the soul. I already spoke about that. Personalities, choose. Okay, so now we get to a next scene where Joe tries to escape into the physical realm, and then he keeps bouncing back to the great before. And what this means is what this is pointing to is the fact that before you come to earth, you have to have a soul contract. You can't just come here as a soul or as a spirit. You can't just bounce here. No, you have to have a soul contract, which is what that past represents in the movie. Which family are you going to be born into? What gifts? What's going to trigger your awakening? Because you come here with knowing what you're going to do, but then you forget through what we call traumatic birth, or the trauma of birth, which the movie also points out to, which I liked. And I was like, I see you, director. I see you, writers. I see you all, Leonard. That's the trauma of birth, which makes you forget what it is that you came here to do. So now he keeps trying to come back here, and he keeps going back because he can't. You don't have a soul contract here. You can't just come here. You have to be assigned. You have to choose, and it has to be chosen for you what lessons are needed for you to learn. So now Jerry tries to, okay, I wrote here, let's see. Not Jerry, Joe. So now Joe in spirit forms, he basically now moves into a next scene where he becomes a mentor. And what we see as the mentors, they're basically beings who lived great lives on earth, and then now they are mentoring younger souls into finding their spark or their inspiration. So now he's in this particular learning place, and in this place there's another Jerry, because the Jerry is manifesting itself in different forms. So this Jerry is a multiple beings, because it's a multi-dimensional aspect, as it said to Joe that, hey man, I'm the unified field of the cosmos, as manifesting itself in this form just so you can understand me. This is not who I am. Your body, that's not who you are. You are Jerry and Joe and all of these beings at the same time, but that's another story. So now, I wrote here, and I just watched this movie now because I wanted to make this video for you. That's what I'm going to do every time. I'm going to rewatch it and make the notes for you, because these are things that I'll be noticing. When you watch movies, take notes. Take notes. Because these are deep, ancient mysteries, occult knowledge, occult meaning hidden. Let's go on. So now, Jerry in this particular learnings, like it's like a cinema where they are teaching the guides or the mentors what's happening. He says that you guys have been here before, but you don't remember because you forget due to the trauma of childbirth, which is actually a gift to the soul. To forget who you were is actually a gift, because if you were to remember all the past things that happened to you, you wouldn't be able to live the particular lifetime you were living as the name that you have. Cindy, Unonkululeko, Tabo, James, John, Plemedi, whatever your name is, you wouldn't be able to remember, or you wouldn't be able to comprehend the infinite power, the infinite manifestation of who you are if you remembered everything. So forgetting is a gift, because you forget through the trauma of childbirth. Because when you are born from your mother's womb, all of a sudden you come from this realm of no senses: taste, touch, sight, sound, and smell. And all of a sudden there's these loud noises, and that's trauma for the soul. So that trauma is what triggers you into the living world. So now let's continue on here. After he speaks about this whole childbirth and whatnot, he continues to explain further about how the personalities are given and chosen for the soul. And he basically tells them how if something inspires a soul, then that's how they can be born. Maybe your inspiration might be music, art, drawing, being a porn star, anything. It can literally be anything. So after that whole shandies, Joe meets 22, a young soul called 22, and then they go through this particular, I'm not going to speak about everything in detail, others I'm leaving for you to decode. They go through this particular hall of memories, what we would call maybe what we would call the Akashic records, what they call the hall of everything. So now they go into this field where they are looking back on memories, so they see Joe's life in that particular field. And now let me see here what I wrote. In that particular realm, one thing that they found out is that, not even that they found out, one thing that there are no senses. There's no taste, touch, sight, sound, or smell. Those are things that occur in the body and not in the spirit. The spirit is beyond that. So there's no senses. You can't smell, you can't taste, you can't hear. Okay, you can hear, but it's mostly on a different level of what we think hearing is. So now 22 takes Joe to the space in between what we call the physical and the astral, or the spiritual plane, which they call in the movie the zone. And the zone is also like what I spoke about in my last video, where I spoke about the sleep, where I was talking about the matrix. Also, that you have to tap into. No, it wasn't the Matrix video. Where did I speak about this? Dreams. In the video that I did about dreams, we're talking about the theta, the beta, the alpha state. That when you tap into that state between sleep and wake, you are in a theta state, or an alpha, or a different state. Watch that video. It better explains that. So when you are painting, or you are working, or you are doing that you love, you go into a semi-trance. That's what they are showing in the movie. That's what they call the zone. When an artist is painting and he's like, like Joe when he's playing that guitar, he's like, I was here, bro. I was here earlier on. That's the zone. That's a brain frequency, because all of this is happening in the brain, which is we're going to talk about when we decode what the number 22 means, which is what Joe, or who Joe met. So now I'll go on here to say that then after, in that realm, he meets this being called Moonwind, which is actually a shaman. That's who Moonwind is. I continue to say here that Joe sees how souls become detached and soulless. So in that realm, Joe sees how beings become obsessed with what they do on earth. Like that guy who was working in the office, and all of a sudden they do this particular ritual, and the soul is brought back into into the body. And then that guy's like, oh my God, I'm alive. That's what happens to people. You get lost in everyday things, and then you have to be pulled back by something different, something original. Your soul has to become attached to your body again, because you can lose your soul while you're living, which is what they talk about in Hollywood when they say that people sold their souls. You don't sell it literally. It just means that you are doing something outside of what you feel and know that you are here to do. That's selling your soul. You don't just sell your soul when you're a celebrity. You sell your soul even to a 9-to-5. That's you selling your soul when you just there. Oh my God. Yes, boss. Yes, boss. Go home. Oh, my boss. Tomorrow I'm going back to, yes, boss. Yes, boss. My boss complaining to your husband or your wife. Tomorrow again. Yes, boss. Yes, boss. That's selling your soul. You're not living. Let's continue on. So now Joe meets these particular beings. They call themselves mystics without borders. And then he says here, let me see. The He basically tells them, and these are like shamans, people who are still living, who do particular meditations and who can tap into the astral while still living. They don't have to die. That's another thing they show into the movie, that you don't have to die before you tap into the spiritual world. You can tap into the spiritual world while you are living. And these are these mystics without borders. They are not borderlined by death nor life. They can be in all planes at the same time. That's what they mean here by mystics without borders. So now he tells them, even your passion can turn into something that turns you into a particular soul. And then he tells Joe, okay, we're going to try to locate your body. And this part is important. He says that close your eyes and breathe into your crown chakra. What does the crown chakra deal with? The crown chakra deals with what? Detachment. Go learn about chakra. It deals with detachment. So now, detach. And when you detach, that's when you can actually attach. It's a paradox. So detach, the crown chakra deals with teaching you about detaching from things. So Joe was learning the art of detaching from his passions, what he thinks he loves and what he thinks he must do. And that's what Moonwind was teaching him. And then it goes back now Joe, and when they're doing the whole ritual, Joe and 22 fall into the physical realm and their souls basically get switched. 22 falls into the cat. Joe falls into the cat and 22 falls into Joe's body. Let me see. I don't want to miss anything. Joe falls into the earth plane with 22 when they go outside. Oh yeah, here, when they go outside, that's what we were talking about in the beginning, when they talk about the trauma of birth. Because 22 came unprepared, even when you do come prepared, there's still that trauma. That trauma is the senses, the loud noises. They are bliss and they are also at the same time curses, depending on which timeline you are incarnated in civilization. We are born into loud cars, trains, planes, doctors, people in construction. So it's loud for the soul because you can hear everything on a subconscious level. It's loud. Like when Superman came to the earth, God, he sees everything and he hears everything. So that's trauma. To an infinite being, all of a sudden being limited, that's trauma. Now, we continue to move on here, excuse me. After that whole them exchanging bodies, Joe has to get ready for a show. He tries to, watch the movie, as I said. So now I'm only pointing out important scenes. Joe, they go to a barber, and then he says that he says to the barber, basically, Joe has been going to this barber, but now it's not even Joe, it's 22 inside Joe's body. This is actually funny because I have a barber who told me that he had a dream where he was cutting hair. This in my real life. This isn't like part of the movie. He's like, he feels that he was born. Give me a second. I'll take a young sip. He says that he feels that he was born to cut hair. And we had a whole conversation about purpose and being born into particular things. And when I saw the movie, I was like, hey, that's like my barber in real life. He told me this, So now he meets this barber and they have this whole conversations. And then when 22 is speaking through Joe's body, this is another thing that's showing you that the soul can take over a body. This is what possession and also channeling of ancestors or higher beings come in. Your body can either get taken over by a good spirit or a bad spirit, because that's all your body is. It's a vessel. That's another thing that they're showing in the movie, that the body is a vessel. You can have beings come in and go. So you have to know what you are so that you can either allow it or be like, nah. So now after that, let me see. Almost kills. This counter guy, the one who counts souls, he comes to Earth because he recognized that there was a soul missing, and he almost kills a guy by mistake looking for Joe. And that part of the movie was talking about a near-death experience, because that guy was like all traumatized. So those people you see in reality that like you think are crazy, they might have been people who might have seen the great beyond before their time, and now they are like, oh my word, they're aware of something totally different from what they thought reality was. So that scene was also very important. So now boom boom boom, goes to get his pants fixed by his mom. And after standing up for himself, he gets inspired. So in that scene, he basically stood up for himself, like, Mom, blah 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 blah. And then his mom gave him a new suit, which was his dad's suit, which would be the story of also that now he's the hero rising up to redeem his father, which is Osiris, which gets into the story of Horus and Osiris, where his father passed on, and the mother is like, nah, bruh, don't do this. Your father did this. And he feels like my mom is not supporting me. But it's not that she wasn't supporting him. He had to show that he wanted it. And only after that did the mom be like, nigga, here's the suit. And it's like, that's my dad's suit. You know? So you have to fight for what it is that you want. That scene was very important, that you have to show that you are willing to give up a lot of things for you to have what it is that you feel is yours. So now 22, after that whole scene, 22 has a realization that he or she actually loves life, and then she tries to run away, and that whole thing happens. And then that counter being Lobalago, the one who counts how many souls are dying or being born, those are the jobs of the forces that I was talking about. It's not really jobs, but forces that allocate. These are inner forces that allocate where soul should go prior or post life. So now let's continue on. So now, after the whole thing, Joe has a conversation with Jerry again, and Jerry says, in the astral realm, Joe says, this is a different scene. Joe says, Jerry says, we don't assign purposes. A spark isn't a soul's purpose. Woo! This part hit me. He says, we don't assign purposes. What are you talking about? A spark isn't a soul's purpose. You guys think a spark is your purpose? No. And then he says that your spark isn't the meaning of life. Like what you like to do in life, whether you draw, that's an extra. It's something that might trigger you to who you are, really, but it's an extra. It's not who you are. It doesn't define you. Whether you're a surgeon, a policewoman, a policeman, whatever you can choose to be or whatever you already are, that's not what defines you. That is an extra. What defines you is something deeper than that. Woohoo! I don't know why my fingers just went like this all of a sudden. Let's go. Then Joe goes back into his body. He says to Dorothy, his only purpose is to play. After he left empty. What was I writing here? Joe goes to his body. After he felt empty, he wasn't. Oh, there we go. So Dorothy is that female that Joe had this passion to play with. So he finally gets back into his body, and then he gets to play with Dorothy, like the piano. And then after that, he's like, oh my word, what's next afterwards? You know, after a great night. And then he's like, I thought I would feel different. And then Dorothy tells him a story. They have a conversation, and then she tells him a story. She gives us very amazing examples. Like, I heard this story once of a man or someone who told me that there was this fish that swam up to an older fish. He's like, yo, I'm looking for something called the ocean. And the older fish was like, hey man, what? You're already in it. He's like, no, this is not the ocean. This is water. Woo! Should I tell you what that means? Okay, I'm going to tell you. Some of you guys take too long to figure things out. We need to ascend. You may be looking for something that you already have. That's where I'm going to leave it. The conversation with Dorothy about feeling different gives an examples of, okay, Joe then has flashbacks and then starts discovering the true purpose of life. And that true purpose of life, because he told 22, when 22 said that my purpose of life might be sky watching or walking. And he's like, no, those are regular things. And those are not. Those are not regular old livings like how he told that 22. That's the purpose of life. The purpose of life is to live. The purpose of life is the simple things. We complicate it. So Joe meets Moonwind again, and then there's that whole interaction where 22 now became a lost soul, and they're trying to retrieve that soul, and basically what Moonwind says is that lost souls are obsessed with something that disconnects them from life. And that could be what you think your purpose is. You have to sing so much that it makes you disconnect. You have to play soccer so much that it makes you disconnect. You have to raise or do something, build an empire. It disconnects you from just being. Nothing else but just being. So now, towards the end of the movie, what Moonchild says that your spark isn't your purpose. It's you being ready to live. I don't write who said this here. But your spark isn't your purpose. It's you being ready to live. So you just being ready to live, that's your spark. You are the spark which was always infinitely ready to live. And then now, when, this is basically where it ends. When Joe finally realizes this truth, 22 is able to now come forth into the life and to be born. So now I'm going to get into the names. This is going to trip you out. What the name Dorothy means in the movie of let's start here. What the name Dorothy means, which is the lady that Joe wanted to play with so bad that he said that he would be even willing to die, which he did, or near-death experience. Dorothy means the gift of God in Greek. So she gave him a gift when she told him what the meaning of life was. He's like, yo, bro, there's a fish that was like saying it wants to, it wants to know, or like it wants to know the ocean. And then the older fish told it that you're already in the ocean, and it was like, nah, this is water. So you may be looking for something that you already have. So that was the gift of knowledge. What Joe thought, if I could play with this woman, I'm gonna get everything. And then he played with her, and he didn't feel different. And that very same woman told her this. So Dorothy means the gift of life in Greek. Look it up. The word Jerry, which are those beings that we're talking about, the unified field of forces of the cosmos manifesting itself in this. What the word Jerry means is the sacred name or the holy name. So the holy name of God in Kabbalah is actually the manifestation of what we call Yod-Heh-Vav or Jehovah, the word made flesh. You are the holy name, which is all the forces of the universe made flesh. And then we get to the different character of 22. Now, the letter 22 is very important because in the Hebrew alphabet there are 22 letters, and when you learn about Kabbalah, the tree of life, there are 22 paths within the Kabbalah. And the Hebrew alphabets are also what they call the language of fire, which is if you were to light a candle and watch the flame dance in different ways, that's the language of fire. So the number 22, which is who Joe met, is very important, because in your skull also, which is what they call Golgotha in the Bible, where Jesus was crucified, your skull has 22 bones. And this is the place where enlightenment takes place, which is what Joe was experiencing. The enlightenment within his head. He was going up and down what they call the ladder of Jacob. 1 minute he was in the physical realm, then he's back in the astral. And then he's back in the physical, he's in the astral, and then he's back in the physical plane again. He was going up and down the spinal cord. He was going up and down into the head and back into the physical. So now, the moon wind. Now we're gonna get into another different character, moon wind. We're gonna look at what the moon represents. So the moon represents time. It represents cycle. It represents the psyche. Cause all those people that that moon wind was freeing, along with his shamanic friends, were people who were caught up in the psyche. As they also showed Carl Jung as an example of that. You being caught up in the psychology of what you think you need to do, or rather of who you think you are or what you should be according to what society tells you. So the moon represents that. Remember, it represents time, cycle, psyche. It represents admiration. It represents the shadow, as you see those beings that were covered over by the shadow that they had to uncover. It represents the shadow, equilibrium, balance. It represents regenerations, mystery, feelings, instinct. There's a whole bunch of things that you could see moon wind in the movie and be like, this guy, he's not normal. That's what you should be. That's the woman. It's the intuition. That's the feminine energy inside, even though it was represented in the movie as a man. But that's what it is. It's that feminine energy. That's free. That's intuitive. He's spinning the board there in public. He's just a crazy dude. But he's also a spiritual guide, which also teaches you, don't judge by appearances, because someone who you think is just a guy at the corner could be the same guy who's saving your soul in the astral planes, because we exist in different dimensions at the same time. So now the movie basically comes to an end. And the last character I'm going to talk about here is Connie, which is that girl. The word Connie is also Greek, which means constant. Connie represents the inner child within Joe. That's that child when he was teaching in the beginning and who also came to his house. Connie represents, because the word Connie means constant. So it's the inner child that's constantly trying to nudge at you like, yo, nigga, pay attention to me. Don't give up on your dreams. Because when she came to Joe's house, when 22 had taken over, she wanted to quit but ended up not doing, because that's not what she really wanted to do. But after having that conversation, that was a drive. Like, that's what she wanted to do. After having that conversation, she was able to be reminded. So all these characters are representing beings within Joe. Kahare, inside ngaphakathi koJoe. Inner being. 22, Jerry, Moonchild, Shadow, that counter, all of these beings are inside. They are psychological beings. They are Jerry. They are unified forces, fields of the cosmos manifesting itself within you. Yeah, family. So that's all I'm gonna give you from this movie. As I said, there's a whole bunch more that I could give you, but I don't want to make this long because it would go for 3 hours if I really wanted to go into detail. But I just want to give you snippets because I want you to also watch the movie and pick up things on your own. There's some things that I left deliberately out, that I want you to now go watch movies with a pen and a piece of paper and read other texts of Gnosticism, of how the hero starts the movie sleeping in the normal world. I'm this, I'm that. And then there's the call to adventure in the hero's journey. Look up also what we call the hero's journey. There's 12 steps within the hero's journey. 12 cycles of the zodiac signs, where you go through different journeys of not knowing, discovering, an adventure. You reach a point of darkness and then boom, you are liberated. All of that happens within this movie, and I want you to go look up what the hero's journey is and come back and tell me in the comment section the different parts of Joe in his journey of what the hero's journey is. So thank you, family. Big up to you. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to do a whole bunch more. This is a series. I just wanted to start with the movie Soul. Big up, family. Much love to you. Thank you all for supporting and watching the channel, because you're actually supporting yourself. You're not even supporting me. This is your knowledge, and I'm just making this fun for you. I'm just making you understand how fun it is to know existence as you are existence. So big up, much love, light to you all, family. As I said before that, I do this from the kindness of my heart. So if you just want to support me, just go to the descriptions. There's like my banking details are there just for supporting me, because it's time. It's time that I put into researching and studying and meditation. Not that you have to pay me for it, but then it's cool. You don't have to. But I want to present these more to you in much more fun ways. Guys, I want to go to Egypt. I want to go to the Great Zimbabwe. I want to go to Adam's calendar right here where I live in Mpumalanga. I want to travel the world to give you your own information, and hopefully I will get to a point where I can take you guys with me and we can have tours, live physical tours, where we can actually go to see these sacred sites where these movies are taking their information from, because they all from Africa, they all from the indigenous people of the world, be it Australia or Native America, or Asia. We've been all over the world. So this is our information. It's the journey of the soul that they're now putting in anime. So I'm encouraging you to watch anime, watch cartoons, watch movies, because that's where the most information is hidden from, or is hidden in. Peace, love, and light to you all, family. Much love. Thank you once again.